Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the stage set, and it will be my honor to welcome Honorable Speaker Mr. Sanjay Kamath, Senior Vice President and Business Head, South Asia from Adrenalin eSystems, our presenting partner and award partner, to talk on the session, the AI Talent Flywheel, Reimagine, Redesign and Realize. A big round of applause to Sanjay ji. Sanjay ji, all over to you. Looking forward to a great session.
Thank you. Hey, good morning all. I think we had a wonderful panel session. I think that made my also speech a little easier, because I think you got to know a lot of use cases from the earlier elite members of Parliament, from the panel. So thank you very much for being here. It's an honor to be here, to be part of this India HR Summit. And I'm going to talk about very interesting topic here. My role, although the topic is on AI, my role is not to make AI sound bigger, but I want to make it sound more simpler. I don't make it AI sound complex. I want to see how I can deliver it where AI can be made more simpler. Okay, so I'm coming out with a very interesting topic, AI talent flywheel, right? So every organization, as the other members also mentioned, AI adoption is happening in many organizations, right? But is there a blueprint where we can see how we can adopt AI in your organization? And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm taking 3 major cues here in this presentation, and that's going to be the framework of the entire AI adoption within your organization. We call it in Adrenalin this philosophy of reimagine, redesign and realize, right? Reimagine, we heard the various use cases. So industry agnostic, there are many use cases to ensure. Now every organization is today now looking AI not just in terms of mere adoption, but I think the business leaders on top are now expecting outcomes. How can this relate to business outcomes? And that's where this framework will actually give you some kind of, a guidance to in terms of how you can navigate within your organization. And we'll see various aspects of your business getting touched through this framework. Yeah. So we had this AI summit where our Honorable Prime Minister also spoke well in terms of how AI is going to get adopted in organizations. And today it's the time. So there are 2 aspects that I want to touch upon here. One is, there are 2 aspects. One is the technology aspect, and second is the HR practices aspect, right? If you look at technology will always come and go, okay? But the entire work culture that will evolve because of AI, there will be a lot of kind of changes that you'll see in an organization. And that's how this framework, for example, your skills could change, the requirement of skill sets could change, the processes could change, so all these aspects now has to come into a framework, how it can be cohesively addressed. While we adopt AI also, I think there has to be not only just adoption, but I think there has to be a trust factor across all the segments in your organization who works. So HR has got that extra role, right? In terms of ensuring that the trust factor also is built upon and the confidence level also is built upon. Now, any enterprise, there are 2 aspects for it to be very successful with this AI adoption. We definitely feel speed and responsible governance. Now these 2 has to go hand in hand. Now just imagine you are working on tools within your organization only from a speed perspective, but the governance is missing. Then it becomes a risk factor also within your organization, right? But if you look at the other way, you are trying to see, okay, is AI going to make such a big impact if I am doing a lot of governance, if I'm putting more of governance and I'm missing on the use part of it, then also it is a slightly risky proposition. That means it your entire process could become paralytic, right? So the successful organization is those who actually will combine speed and responsible governance. This is the key when you try and adopt. Yeah? Now we have seen the transition happen, and that's how the advent of responsible AI has come into picture now. Now let us see, today, till about a year back when we were all hearing various HR summits, the speakers, people were all asking, can we adopt AI? Okay, but today people are now looking at how we can adopt AI to make a measurable business outcome impact. That's where the key is today, and I think organizations are now spending time, as the other panel members also just before said, usage of AI is going to be inevitable. You know, people are going to definitely use it. It is how we going to adopt it is something which we have to look at. Measurable impact is the key here, because in an organization you have two sets of people which will also see a different dimension between the stakeholders. Now, when you adopt and when you roll out these kind of tools, you have to have transparency, auditability, and human accountability. That's how when you can measure the returns as well, right? So today, most people feel responsible AI will only give you speed or scale. It is not just that, but yes, but it will also ensure that the scale is given to the enterprise for growth, to reach your business outcomes. So this is very critical aspect when it comes to adoption to outcomes. Now, obviously, as an HR fraternity, I'm sure when you go to the board and you present your business plan kind of stuff, the question is obviously in terms of how does a CEO or a CFO look from their perspective, right? So let's see some aspects here. What would the board look at? Board would look at productivity and capacity creation. These are typically the board expectations. But if you look from a CFO's perspective, he is also worried about the budgets. How much is going to be the budget? You know, there will be a lot of employee reskilling again going to happen. What is going to be the cost of it? So this AI adoption is also going to bring in a lot of changes in the way you look at budgets, your employee budgets. That would change. The mechanism of hiring would change. We saw some examples being cited in the earlier panel as well, right? And the skill strategy also will change. So there will be a lot of upskilling of employees that would be required to be done in this adoption stage. So here, the HR will become a central spokesperson here. It will be responsible to tie all these ends. And that's how they are part of the board today, because that's how talent has been recognized within the board as well, right? So HR becomes the adoption engine across the enterprise. So today we look at, it's not just, it's every AI initiative is going to be a talent initiative, because from an HR perspective, it is not just the adoption part, but how the employees will going to use it, upskill themselves. These are some initiatives which only HR can take it, right? So that's how HR will be in the focal front in this adoption strategy. Now this is the heart of the presentation. Okay, this is something like a blueprint. Now lot of organizations are wanting to know how do we go about it? How do we step into it? So this is a framework in Adrenalin that we have worked, and we have been talking to various customers. Most of the customers have started using this framework, and we are running various workshops with this kind of framework, and that is helping them to adopt AI in a very responsible manner as well. Now let's see how this entire 3 core areas that I mentioned, reimagine, redesign, and realize. So in this framework, we generally, it is again industry to industry, so it is industry agnostic. It could be applicable to any, whether it is banking, whether it is microfinance, as they said, manufacturing, any vertical that you say, it will be applied to this. In reimagine, you look at various use cases in your organization that can propel you to bring that outcome. You can see what are the various workflows. You can define your return on investment targets as well, right? Through AI adoption, when I mean this. Redesign. Now, as we said, AI tools are going to augment what humans are doing, right? In what processes this needs to be used? These are some of the aspects in the blueprint that we need to put in across. Re-engineer. There may be workflows that you may have to re-engineer it. Processes that we may have to little rewrite about it. And then we invent. I mean, there are a lot of AI agents that you can build it across, which can help you to realize these use cases into measurable outcomes. And the last part also is very important, where Adrenalin has put this framework across, where we say realize. So we, along with our customers, do a lot of pilot sessions. After doing all this, there is a pilot session. We see how the executions are done, and we see what is the outcome. I'm sure it is, if you say it's a continuous improvement loop, it is not one stop that one time I do something and that's the end of it. You will have to revisit again and again, because businesses is also going to get evolved, right? There are a lot of disruptions happening from a business perspective also. There will be business requirements also coming in, which will enable you to change this. So this is going to be a continuous. Now in a reimagine, this is a very classical way which we also tell organizations, how do you go into stepwise adoption? Now if you look at a spectrum, you have a chart of the complexity from low to high and the manual effort that one has to play from low to high, right? Now in this segment, you see low effort, low complexity. I think this is the box that you should start getting into quickly, because that's where you start putting the major pieces into place. And then you move to the next quadrant, which is high effort, low complexity. Now high effort, low complexity, some use cases are there: resume screening, reimbursements, JD role profile generation, interview packs, scorecards, etc., etc. But if you look at from a high effort, so people try to see, okay, can I go and attempt high effort, high complexity? But if you have the basics in place and that's going, see, there are two aspects to it in business. You're talking to the CEO also, you're talking to the CFO also. From a CEO perspective, yes, this plan looks great. But from a CFO's perspective, your analogy is saying that by AI adoption, I can only save time, correct? Now, the question is, how much of return on investments it's going to give? Now, this is a classical framework which we have seen getting sold internally in organizations, where the HR can come up with a plan saying, okay, this is how I'm going to start using the framework. And when the organization sees the returns on these two aspects, especially low effort, low complexity, and high effort, low complexity, where AI tools are getting adopted, they will see the returns coming in. They will see the changes that are happening within the organization. And that's how it becomes easier for them when you scale up to a higher complexity areas as well. So this 2x2 framework is something which we have seen organizations gaining success. Now you looked at the use cases, now look how to look at the priority aspects. So classical example here, if you look at high frequency, anything that requires high frequency, for example, talent, I think a lot of examples were spoken related to talent, so I'm just picking that cue. Talent acquisition, support, the process itself. There are a lot of areas in which there is high frequency, there high time leakage, right? And there are low risk controllable with guardrails available. But it's very important also in the organization to fix who's going to be the business owner for this. Because that is somewhere that it could be an individual, it could be a team, it could be a department which can actually monitor the entire progress. And obviously the clear baseline will exist in terms of time, in terms of cost, and also in terms of the quality. Now when we look at how map the workflow and place agents as bottlenecks. Now we'll see what is this bottlenecks. Okay. Let's take an example here. For example, again taking the cue of the talent acquisition, recruitment, the entire screening process, the interview process, offer management, and onboarding of the employee. All these are typically where you have quite a lot of activity going on, right? But at the same time, there are some bottlenecks also in the system. Now, for example, you have built certain agents where you have automated this aspect of it, right? But there are certain bottlenecks. Now, what could be these bottlenecks? For example, I have taken an interview, but probably I have not gone and updated it, or maybe I have taken a candidate feedback which I have not probably entered into the system, right? So these are some aspects where there could be delays, leakages, or if you are using any system, probably it is not responsive enough to capture that. Those are some kind of delays still which we'll look at. Now again, in AI adoption, you can still create agents around it. Now, please understand that here is the matrix where there is a proper blend of people getting involved in these processes along with the AI agents. Now, as per your industry, as per the process that you're talking about, as per the business impact that we are expecting it to give, there will be a combination of processes where some things will have to be taken by human, which is like a classical decision that needs to be taken, okay? Because sometimes decision is generally not with respect to ranking. There were some use cases also mentioned earlier in the panel, saying that if everything is AI is doing, then so AI, if you understand or if you have read also, it hallucinates also, right? That hallucination part is very dangerous. It will start, now we are talking about technologies like AI, machine learning, it learns, but at the same time, a wrong input going in, it will start hallucinating. So there has to be some benchmark where there's a human intervention also just to control this. So, as we said, the entire control factor is with humans here. Yeah. Now, the last part obviously is the ROI. Now, this is where when you sell the entire process to the board, this is where they would want you to specify. For example, again, I'm taking that talent acquisition as an example since we started with that. Whether with the current time to shortlist the candidates, can my efficiency be 40% on it? That 40 or 50 or 60 depends upon your industry, your kind of processes that you put in, the kind of levels of the job description that you're looking at. Offer to join drop, people drop as well, right? Can I improve that efficiency by 20% or maybe more or maybe less? So when you put this measurable areas as outcomes based on the processes, you can then come to an overall ROI for the entire organization. And that's where, when there is some kind of metrics in terms of deployment of AI, there are some budgets that needs to be allocated. That becomes much more easier if this capacity is controlled at the beginning. Now, this is where Adrenalin steps in. Now, every organization will have AI tools, right? But what does HR require today? I'm talking now AI adoption in terms of HR landscape right now. Although the tool that we have, which we are on Purple Fabric as an AI engine, which is as good as today OpenAI or maybe Anthropic that we heard recently in the AI summit. It is as good as that, right? Now, when Adrenalin steps in here, to the HR, we are giving the context, okay? Just AI tool will not help. So we have this framework called ADORE framework: acquisition, development, operations, remuneration, and engagement. I'll not get into the details, but that's not my objective of saying what falls under what bucket. But this is generally a complete hire to rehire kind of a segment. Important part to note here is when we do these workshops, okay, if we are going through the ADORE framework in applying these AI tools, it's very important that we address each bucket. And let me give you an example. In the recruitment piece, you have built your agents. So you brought speed into it, and now you have not addressed the onboarding part of it. So what happens, the speed in which recruitment has happened has taken place, but now the onboarding engine is not reciprocating because that area is not attacked yet. So again, you'll go and fall into a bottleneck kind of situation where there is a time lag. Now, if we understand the various processes right from hire to rehire, what are the key areas where there is time taken or there are challenges in terms of processes? That's where the identification of, so people generally make a mistake where is people will first think of a tool and then they will say, okay, now what are the use cases for the tool? We always believe it should be the other way around. First, you know your business well, you know the use cases well. Now, based on your use cases, now let's identify what tool is required. That methodology helps a great deal. And if you look at the AI adoption perspective, if you adopt that stepwise, it becomes much more easier. We'll see a framework also how, from a project plan perspective, how we can get into it. Right? So now when Adrenalin walks into this kind of workshops, we already have some 40 plus AI agents already across the ADOR framework. And the beauty part of it is the platform will enable you as an HR person to define and devise your own AI agents on the platform. That's the uniqueness part of it, okay? Because the platform itself belongs to us, so you can define your own AI agents, looking at your own business. And that's the flexibility that probably you would definitely require. Now, these are some of them. Within talent acquisition, based on your requirement, there could be another 5 agents that may be required at your end, can be created. So we create a lot of these kind of workshops, closed door workshops, and we have, and the best part is the HR fraternity is building all these AI agents. You don't have to be technically savvy, nothing. You don't have to have any knowledge about coding or anything of that sort. You have your business processes in mind and you can create your own agents on the fly. And if you want to believe this, you can definitely connect with us and we'll tell you how we can do, because we do these workshops for many of our customers. Okay, last point which I mentioned, there are certain statistics. So we do various projects with various of our customers. This is one such use case. We just did it for ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. There are about 10,000 plus employees, and their challenge was more on the payroll. They were having challenges in terms of also, bill extractor for expense claims. So that was another such challenge. So we have adopted and used a lot of AI agents where this is crunching that time and building accuracy as well at the same time. Now, how do we go about doing the reimagine part as part of the workshop? So we do these workshops, and the best part is not just the HR, we also involve the IT and the finance, because that's very important for you to have a collaborative within your organization. Okay, and you define those workflow maps, you define the various portfolios, and you do a pilot. Now, the pilot is something which is very important, okay? And that's how when you go through the use cases, you'll see some business returns coming in. Obviously, it is not a one step. You'll have to reinvent again, you may have to redesign it again, make it much more tweaker to your processes, right? So you can re-engineer those AI agents again. You can recall them and re-engineer them. And that's very simple. The timelines are mentioned as 90 to 180 days. It all depends upon organization to organization. It could crunch also to a great extent, depending upon the organization readiness, maybe depending upon the maturity model of the organization, the skill sets available in the organization. Maybe there is some time required to reskill some aspects of your workforce. That's how it would take. But I think in 6 months' time, definitely you can have a measurable outcome at the end of the journey, for sure. Now, when we do, as we said, we are slightly shifting from an RPA mindset to a more operating model shift. Now, when we build these AI agents, augmentation becomes much more important. So which are the co-pilots that you can generate, which can actually add on to your human work, right? How can it value add to your work in terms of speed and in terms of accuracy? Re-engineer. As I said, it's not a one-time job. You may have to revisit again and redefine the workflows, suiting your business needs, suiting the kind of business outcomes your leaders are expecting. And invent, you can create a lot of autonomous digital experts as well, okay? And this is some in our lab, when we do these workshops, we give you those hands-on training as well. So there are a few examples I thought I will cite from an augment perspective, typically JD drafting. Now why? Because obviously it is, as we discussed, it's repetitive in nature, high volume, low risk tasks. And it's easier to measure the time that has got saved, right? So this is one such example for augment. For re-engineering, hiring workflow, onboard journey, performance cycle, there are many such use cases within the HR landscape framework, but these are some of them which have been most widely used today, right? So again, if you look at the entire workflow with cycle time bottlenecks across teams, or for gaining approvals or anything of those sorts, it becomes much more easier to measure these. When we look at invent, the third box, if you look at examples like for AI recruiter, expense auditor, payroll auditor, these are some of the use cases where it helps you to prioritize. Yeah. Now I would want to give you a few examples with this kind of two short videos, one on the parser, resume parser agent that was developed. This was again done by a customer itself on the fly, and also the bill extraction audit agent. Can we have the videos, please?
Multi-LLM resume intelligence. Every HR platform uses resume parsing, from rules and keywords to machine learning and LLMs, to load data fast. But no model is perfect. Some ace skills, others struggle with addresses, dates, or work history. Navi enables you to leverage multiple LLMs, helping orchestrate multi-model parsing across GPT, Claude, Llama, Mistral, and more. By eliminating dependency on any one model, it ensures higher accuracy and resilience, thereby making Adrenalin's resume parser miles ahead of the rest. Instead of depending on one model, the resume is passed through multiple large language models. The results are compared, consolidated, and the best outputs are extracted. Navi also ensures consistency, compliance, and enterprise-grade integration. Multi-LLM AI, cleaner data, better hires. AI-powered bill data extractor, lightning fast, highly accurate, and fully automated. Just upload a bill and let AI do the typing. No templates, no manual entry. Now reimbursements and claims are quick and easy. No hassle of data entry. Seamless AI supports any type of bills. It reads single bills, multi-page PDFs, and even handwritten notes using smart OCR for fast, accurate capture. The flow is quick. Simply drag and drop to attach the files and tap upload to confirm. Fast, simple, and ready to process. Within seconds, the agent extracts the bill date, bill number, and claim amount, then auto-validates formats, checks for duplicates, and highlights anomalies, so your entries stay clean, compliant, and ready to submit. Save to drafts for later review or submit right away. Your claim is ready for processing.
Thank you. Can we go to the slide? Okay, next slide. Yeah. So the third step, which is the last step, which is the realize. Okay. When you get into this, how does you plan for this? Okay. Again, the number of weeks, as I said, would depend upon the organization maturity as well. But these are some steps which are pretty handy while adopting AI. You know, to define the value cases. So work on the baseline workflow scope, success matrix, and also you define your guardrails for that process. Okay. The next phase is build and launch the pilot. Okay. So deploy the use cases, enable the users, establish review cadence. Next stop is you're driving your adoption and fine-tuning it, okay, suiting to your business needs. Improve outputs, fix bottlenecks. So these are some aspects where AI agents can be built to also eliminate those kind of bottlenecks that you face. Okay. And obviously, you can also see the roadmap. And in terms of a plan, if the measurable outputs are yet to be ascertained, you can revise the entire plan and make it much more fructified again. So today we have our CAM team, which is Key Account Management team as well, who interacts with all our customers, gets these workshops arranged. And I think our customer success teams are also here. Probably when you are interacting with them during the break, you can get into a thought process discussion with them as well, as to how Adrenalin can help you adopt AI in your organization. So these are some of our clienteles across different industries. The important aspect here I would want to touch upon is, from an HR's perspective, it is not the question whether a specific tool has got AI. Okay? There will be a lot of companies who will say, okay, now I'm giving you AI in the platform. But from an adoption perspective, is the vendor that you partner with has got the relevant use cases for your industry? Okay, have they a expertise of your industry knowledge, your domain perspective? And that's where, while you sit with us to create those agents, that becomes much more easier. It's more of a partnership at this stage, and that's how, from our perspective, we can't just say that, okay, here is a platform, there are certain agents, start using it. There has to be a partnership where to make you understand as well in terms of what are the steps, how you can customize those AI agents. And as I said, you can create your own AI agents. And that's how we will also bring in our expertise into it to help you build those agents. Thank you for your patient listening. I'm sure this framework would definitely help. We'll be more than happy to engage with you to see how we can partner. And as I said, we have interesting sessions also subsequent to a small break now. Just think from this perspective when you are now thinking about AI as to how you can reimagine, redesign, and how can you realize those kind of business outcomes for your organization. Thank you for patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. And ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to Mr. Sanjay Kamath for that wonderful session. I would request Sanjay ji to kindly be on stage. And it will be our honor to invite Mr. Balasubramanian Sethuraman, Head of HR from Parak Integrated Services, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our honorable speaker. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That was Mr. Sanjay Kamath, Senior Vice President and Business Head South Asia from Adrenalin eSystems, delivering that wonderful session on the AI talent flywheel, reimagine, redesign, and realize. Thank you, Sanjay ji, for that wonderful session here.